Have you wondered what it would be like to attend the Evolution of Psychotherapy Conference? The hassles, kind of hopes and dreams? Well, I'm the guy who attended, and tonight I'm going to tell you all about it. Welcome to the Dark Side of Therapy. This is Nance, the show where we help young clinicians get into the field, do it right, and not burn out in the process. You might be asking tonight, well, where does this conference fit in? Well, here's how it fits in tonight, because young people go to conferences too. And if I was just starting out in the field, this would be a great conference to start with. Now, here's the bad news. I signed up for this thing about 6 months in advance. It only happens every 5 years. And I was so excited. It's going to be in Anaheim, California. Had my plane ticket, had my room. I'm ready to rock. About 30 days before I'm set to fly out, I get told, oh, it's going to be all online. And I was heartbroken. I was going to meet my heroes, and now that was going to be taken away. So they put the whole thing online. And I want to talk about the experience because it was kind of a high and low experience. On the one hand, all the living legends are there. I mean, we're talking Philip Zimbardo. We're talking Elizabeth Loftus, Michael Yabko. All these great people. Beck. So I got to see a lot of great people. The problem was being online for that long. These were 12-hour training days. It was incredibly intense. And I did the training with somebody. And we both agreed at the end of the day we were kind of spent. So that was the downside. The other really good thing they did is because it's a breakout session type format, you can only attend so many sessions. So if it's 2 o'clock in the day, you attend your session, but you can't attend any others. So they gave us 3 months of access to all of the other trainings we didn't get a chance to see. Guess what? I did not go to any of them, which now I regret because I'm not going to get the chance again. But I want to talk about just in general some of the real highlights. So they set this up very, very well. And there was 2 or 3 sessions where you could log in and actually be live and interacting with peers and the presenter. So I got to talk to Daniel Amen that way, one of my favorite neuropsychologists. And the rule was they only will take the first 12 people, meaning these are the first 12 who can interact and actually ask questions. The other people just get to watch. I think I got in on the first 12 with every one of them, so that was great. So getting to talk to these people live, that was a real treat. In fact, I noticed myself trying to schedule those types of breakout sessions more than other sessions because number one, I was tired, and number two, I just found it more engaging. The really downside of it is that, again, it was very, very long, and I felt like after those 5 days, I was just completely spent. And I don't know that I would ever do a training like that again. Again, the upside is you kind of blast through it, assuming you could stay awake, which we did. You get through a lot of material, and you walk out of there with, I think, 48 CEUs. And for those of you who don't know, those are the continuing education credits we need for our licensure. So you did walk out of there with a lot. Now, this year, they're having it in Orlando, Florida, or at least they say they do. And I'm just going to say, with the way COVID is kind of presenting itself and new strains and all this, I'm not going to book my flight and hotel just yet. And I would encourage you, if you're thinking about it, I'd wait until about a month before. The problem is you don't get the early bird discount rate. At the same time, you won't land in the headache of trying to get reimbursed for everything. And again, I did not get my flight reimbursed. I had to change it to a different. I ended up just pushing it out a year. And so I'm going to my home state of Oregon with that flight. But I did get reimbursed for my hotel. So that was kind of nice. So I want to give some highlights of some of the workshops I found really interesting. And so Philip Zimbardo was the first presenter who came on. And this is a man that's been a Stanford therapist and professor for many, many years. He conducted the famous Stanford prison experiment where students posed as either guards or inmates. The idea behind it, how are people going to behave in these roles? And of course, what happened is these students acting as guards were terrible to the inmates, and Zimbardo actually had to stop the experiment. And to hear him talk about that live was just really exciting. And it was actually his girlfriend who convinced him, Philip, you got to stop this. This was not helpful to people. But one of the most famous experiments, and he's also written a lot of books about just evil in humanity, and just so fascinating. I think he's 90 years old now, so he has been around for a very, very long time. I hope he presents this year. Now, sort of my dream came true because I got to see Irv Yalom. And Yalom is a man that's been in the field now for, gosh, probably close to 60 years. Wrote the famous book, I believe it's called Growing a Therapist, or I'll get back to that. But it was so nice to sit with him because he recently lost his wife, and so had to do the presentation under a lot of grief, and just talking about what it was like to lose his wife, keep being a therapist, and to keep going on was really incredible. He also said that because he's getting older, his memory doesn't work quite as well. So he doesn't work with clients week to week anymore. He basically sees clients once, and that becomes all the therapy they do. I thought, that's really interesting. That must be one heck of a session. But he said, I cannot keep working with people where my memory is not holding up. And I thought that was just really, really, really fascinating. The Gift of Therapy is the book, by the way. And again, it's one of the few books written that actually criticizes the DSM. And again, just a brilliant, brilliant writer. Now, somebody I had not heard a whole lot about that I saw, his name is Michael Yapko. And he's a hypnotherapist. And like a lot of people, I thought, hypnotherapy, it's got to be a wash. What's informative and exciting about this, even helpful? And he did a live demonstration of what it is like to do hypnotherapy with somebody. And it was fascinating. And rarely am I taken back to the point where I say, man, I really want to try that. And he got me thinking, I'd like to learn more about this. And the person he did the strategy with, or the technique with, came out of it feeling like she had been healed, at least relatively healed in that short amount of time. Sort of like EMDR almost, where you're remembering the traumatic memories. But the way he talked her through it, it was very dialogue driven. And again, I kind of sat back just in wonderment. And it really got me thinking again, I would like to learn more about this. So again, Michael Yapko, did not know a lot about this man. He does have some YouTube videos. I believe he's done some TED Talks. So somebody to look into. Now, I'm a big fan of memory. And not always my own memory, because I don't remember a lot of things I probably should. But I'm a big fan of memory research. And Elizabeth Loftus, somebody again I did not know a lot about, did a great presentation on memory and therapy. Highly controversial, and I've mentioned this before, because when we start questioning clients' memories, we can get in trouble. There's kind of this idea in therapy that if a client says it, it's probably true. And Elizabeth Loftus comes out and says, no, we can't look at it that way, because clients are highly suggestible, and we have to be so careful with what we say to them. It's very easy for us to implant false memories in clients. And she has run a lot of experiments over the years, a lot of experiments that show we have a hard time recalling 5 minutes ago, an hour ago, let alone 20 years ago. And I really enjoyed her courage for coming out and saying we need to learn more about memory as therapists so that we don't implant things in our clients' minds. Clients in a therapy session are in a highly susceptible framework. And so if we're not careful with that, we can do some real damage. What I really wanted to get into was more of the discussion about supposed trauma and all these things, and we only had 90 minutes, so I couldn't go as far as I wanted to. But check Elizabeth Loftus out. Fascinating, fascinating therapist. Now, Stephen Hayes, another therapist that I didn't know a lot about, professor at the University of Nevada, Reno, came on, and kind of blown away by him because he's got a very, very gentle delivery, very subtle, and at the same time, really impactful words. He does a lot of motivational interviewing type therapy. In fact, I believe he co-authored a book or a couple books on the topic. And he made the claim that parts of the DSM are actually based in eugenics, and that this is kind of the dark side of the DSM, which I found just fascinating. And it makes me want to do some more research on him too, because that's a pretty bold statement. You know, we as therapists rely on the DSM, and when he's basically saying its foundation was based on the idea that we're going to weed certain people out, the worthy versus the unworthy, that caught my attention. But again, his delivery was not mean. It wasn't mean-spirited. It was just a very honest delivery, and got me thinking, I'd like to learn more about this guy. So When the presentation wrapped up, or when the conference wrapped up, I felt like I was spent. I felt like being in person would have been a lot more meaningful, probably a little more energetic. But I'll tell you what, you still get you get some bang for your buck. So if it is online again this year, I still recommend you go because you're going to get a lot out of it. You're going to walk out of there with a whole area, broad expertise. You're not going to know everything because you can't know everything. There's no way to break down this much material in 90 minutes, walking away knowing everything. But you're going to get a great piece. And I found there were things I would be able to use right away. And that's what I want out of a good conference. And I've said that before too. I want to be able to walk away with something I can use almost immediately. So I hope you enjoyed my experience. Again, if they have it in Orlando this year, great. It'd be great to see it. I'd just be very careful before you book your flight and your ticket. If you like this video, please hit like. And as always, please subscribe to The Dark Side of Therapy. This is Eric Nance. Thank you.